Mental illness is an incredibly wide and complicated spectrum. Sometimes our brains just suddenly decide to stop providing us with the chemicals we need to be happy. Sometimes we go through traumatic life events that invoke a downward spiral. Sometimes mental disorders might run in our family. Maybe you were born a high-strung person, or maybe your past has made you that way. At the end of the day, the emotions we feel are a bunch of chemicals and electric charges in our brains. If there were to be a sudden imbalance in these things, that can lead to any number of issues. Living with mental illness can be difficult. It certainly varies from person to person. For some, it may be a mere inconvenience that nags at them. For others, it can be absolutely debilitating. And then there's everything in between. Everyone is different. We all have our own brains, experiences, and genes. Welcome to Games for Healing. For those of you dealing with mental illness in any shape or form, and those of you who enjoy good video games, I would like to share a very special game with you today. This is Celeste, 2018's darling indie platformer. It's what I consider to be the crown jewel of mental health games. It's one of my personal favorite games ever. If I were to make a top 10 favorite games list, this would be on it. To me, it succeeds as both an amazingly well-designed game and as a powerful message of mental health. The game has been met with massive critical acclaim, so I can safely say that it's resonated with many people. Celeste got its start as one of many products of game jams. A game jam is a competition where people are tasked with creating a video game with an incredibly short time limit. They're pretty neat, and can do a great job stimulating bursts of creativity for game creators. You can actually find and play the entirety of this game jam game within Celeste. It's a nice callback to humble beginnings. Celeste was made by some talented people under the name of Extremely OK Games. You can find it digitally on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia. It also got a limited physical release, much to my dismay for trying to find a decently priced copy. I'll get one. Eventually. The story at face value is pretty simple. Celeste is a game about climbing a mountain. This is Madeline, a 21-year-old Canadian girl who comes to Celeste Mountain with the goal of climbing to the top. Why does she want to climb the mountain? Because it's something that she feels she needs to do. She's got some pretty spectacular jumping and climbing abilities at her disposal, but there's something that's holding her back from reaching her true potential. Along the way, she'll meet some very memorable characters. There's Granny, a carefree old lady who lives on Celeste Mountain. She has a great deal of knowledge about it. There's Theo, a friendly fellow with a penchant for social media. There's also Mr. Oshiro, a deceased hotel employee who just can't seem to let go of his past. Then there's a character who goes by the ominous name, Part of Her. Celeste Mountain has many mysterious and otherworldly properties. Part of Her is emotion given form when Madeline encounters her own reflection in a magical mirror. Part of Her isn't just an antagonist doppelganger, she really is a part of Madeline. This is the physical manifestation of all of Madeline's negative thoughts and personality traits. Her insecurities, fears, anger, paranoia, hopelessness, everything. All in a humanoid package with dangerous powers. She'll appear again and again in the story as Madeline keeps climbing. She has a habit of appearing whenever Madeline is at her most vulnerable. Fans like to call her Badeline. Once the themes of mental issues start to rear their heads, we begin to realize what this game is really about. Madeline suffers from depression and anxiety. Celeste isn't just about climbing a mountain. It's a game about climbing the mountain that is mental illness. Madeline does both of these things at the same time. It's both an allegory and a real event that happens. The post-game DLC hinted at a large source of her struggles, and the developers have confirmed it. Madeline is transgender. A lot of her anxiety, depression, and insecurity stem from the issues that transgender people have to go through all the time. The world isn't always an accepting place. Sometimes people aren't even accepting of themselves. The path to truly being yourself can be a very difficult one, riddled with bigotry and self-doubt. When Madeline tells Madeline that she'll never be a real mountain climber, this could be a way of her telling herself that she'll never be a real woman. This is a part of Madeline's internal mountain. Other characters have their own assortment of battles to fight too. Theo deals with the cons that come with living a life on social media, feeling that there are always eyes on him no matter what he does or where he goes, as if he's trapped. He also has a very successful sister that these eyes probably compare him to. Mr. Oshiro died a long time ago and just can't seem to let go of what he loved while he was alive. His hotel means everything to him. He's anxious, denying of the truth, and has potential to lash out in anger. His anxiety even takes a physical form that becomes a level hazard. Granny seems to have had her own mental health journey on the mountain when she was younger. It inspired her to live there. Celeste is a tough-as-nails game. You're going to die a lot, but don't worry, death has zero penalty, and respawning happens with amazing speed. You'll be ready and eager to jump right back into the challenge. The lack of loading time between deaths really is a game changer. Makes me wish a lot of other platformers didn't make us wait so long every time we die. Madeline only has a handful of things she can do. She can run, jump, climb, wall jump, dash, and dash in the air as an extra jump. The level designs were expertly made. They all feel tight and intricate. The levels make the absolute most of this easy to understand moveset and fully explore it. Mastering Madeline's toolkit is super gratifying and will feel like second nature to those who take the time. You'll feel like a maestro while playing. There's even a secret advanced technique you can do called wave dashing. No, not that wave dashing. Just dash into the ground, then jump in the direction you want to go. It'll send you flying forward. It's an optional move for speed and style. The gameplay organically lends itself into the narrative. This game is difficult. Mental illness is difficult. Climbing an actual real-life mountain is difficult. Madeline wants to prove to herself that she can climb Celeste the mountain. You want to prove to yourself that you can beat Celeste the game. You want to see Madeline succeed. You relate to her emotions and imagine your own struggles, pushing you even further. I know that's super simple, but it's really all the game needs to be. Its effectiveness is excellent. I think that the game's difficulty is perfect and an important part of the experience that ties in with the story. Not everybody has the same skill level at platforming games, and then there are people with disabilities. For that, the developers have everyone covered. This game features what they call assist mode. This lets you modify the game in multiple ways to make it more accessible. You can slow down the game, have infinite stamina, have more air dashes, and even skip chapters entirely. I'd personally only recommend using assist mode if you really do need it to enjoy yourself. You can play the entire game with it, or you could use it as training wheels and turn it off when you feel ready. Accessibility options in games are always a good thing, and never a detractor. Everybody deserves to play. More games need them. The game's main collectible, strawberries, serve as another method of accessibility. Finding them requires you to explore and complete extra difficult platforming challenges. You don't have to collect them. They do nothing other than give you a sense of accomplishment and change a piece of artwork at the end. If grabbing one looks too difficult, you can just say nope. If it feels so difficult that you want to skip it, you can. The game encourages you to just do whatever you feel capable of, and whatever feels fun. Collecting strawberries really feels satisfying and rewarding. I never pass on them. Let's talk about the visuals. The sprite work here is gorgeous. It's like playing a classic 16-bit game in a high resolution. The developers have said that the classic platformers of the past inspired the gameplay and visuals. You can even find a reference to Super Mario Bros. 3, along with some other familiar mechanics. Character sprites are minimal and cute. I'm sure this minimalistic approach is part of the reason that this game runs so buttery smooth. You'll get to see these characters in full detail in their text boxes and in pieces of artwork, which are fantastic by the way. The dialogue boxes are different for each character. Madeline's is a bit broken, but still holding together. Theo's is plaid. Speaking of dialogue, the characters have a sort of Banjo-Kazooie style way of speaking, and I always love that. Outside of sprites, the game's world map is in 3D. It's very charming and atmospheric with its snow and gentle music. The music in Celeste is special. It's one of my favorite video game soundtracks. This is thanks to the talented composer Lena Raine. A lot of her personality traits and life struggles have clearly been placed into these melodies. You can even hear her voice representing Madeline in one of the game's songs if you play it backwards and apply some filters. It's very heavy stuff. Lena Raine is transgender, much like our main character. The music she's created is always fitting, and always emotionally swaying for each level and scene. I should also mention that the creator of this game is transgender as well. Both of these people's own life hurdles are well reflected in the story and music. They clearly injected Celeste with a lot of passion and spirit. Themes of mental health are prevalent in this game, whether it be through the story's allegory, the gameplay's meaningfulness, the struggles of the characters, and the touching music. There's a section in this game where Madeline has a panic attack. The way it's illustrated and scored is very powerful. You'll see personal interactions between characters where they talk about their lives and their feelings. At one point, Madeline discusses with Theo what it's like to have depression. It turns out that Theo's sister struggles with the same thing. At the beginnings of levels, you'll get some pretty wise nuggets of wisdom from postcards. Some of these give helpful and reassuring gameplay advice. Others offer messages regarding the themes the story presents. Celeste has a heavy focus on breathing. From the very beginning, Madeline and by extension the player are told to just breathe. Madeline's mother reminds her about breathing over the phone. Theo teaches Madeline a breathing trick his grandfather taught him to use during panic attacks. Just close your eyes and imagine a feather in front of you. Breathe deeply in and out repeatedly, and imagine that you're causing the feather to float up and down. You should actually try it sometime. You're expected to actually do this in real life as you play during Madeline's panic attack, with the goal of keeping a feather within a reticle. Feathers later in the game become a symbol of strength, as touching them will give Madeline the temporary ability to fly. Breathing is a basic yet essential part of keeping a clear head and calming down. Its emphasis is important both for the themes of the game and for the mindset of the player. Sometimes playing Celeste can be frustrating due to its difficulty. Sometimes you just need to stop for a moment, get some oxygen, reevaluate the situation, and jump back into the action. The ending of Celeste also teaches an important lesson. Spoilers ahead as you can guess. All of the other factors, plus the ending, really do combine to make something special. Upon getting to the highest point of the mountain she's ever been, Madeline decides that she's going to leave Madeline behind forever. This backfires, as Madeline causes Madeline to fall down the mountain, losing all of her progress. Much like a mental relapse or downward spiral, we feel that all of the hard work we've done with the gameplay has all been undone. Madeline has an epiphany and confronts the other part of herself. After a long-fought encounter, she reveals her plan. She is going to embrace and work with Madeline. With the two of them combined, Madeline is stronger than ever. She gains the ability to dash twice in the air, and together with the other part of her, they head to the final stretch of the mountain. After a spectacular marathon of platforming and climbing, they finally reach the top. It's over. All that's left to do is enjoy the view, then head down from where they came. All of the characters get together at Granny's, including Mr. Oshiro, who's left his hotel for the first time in forever. Madeline bakes a strawberry pie for everyone out of the strawberries she's been collecting through the whole game. How many you collected will change how nice the pie is and how the characters react to it. You'll then get to see how many strawberries you collected, how many times you died, and how long your playthrough was. Always interesting stats to see. The main story of Celeste will likely take you 5 to 10 hours to beat. I've beaten the story 3 times. Once for the first time on my own, once while streaming, and once to record footage for this video. Each time with less deaths. It's all about practice. If you try to do the same, I encourage you to never give up. Even after the short and highly replayable main story, there's still plenty of content for those hungry for more. There are immensely difficult unlockable levels, unlocked by finding cassette tapes in the main story levels. There's also a post-game DLC story titled Farewell. This chapter deals with themes of loss. The game gets so difficult during this DLC that my hands began to cramp. You'll need to find all of the game's secret collectibles and beat every unlockable level if you want to make it to the end of this DLC. Partway through it, the optional wave dashing move suddenly becomes mandatory. It's for the hardcore, and let me tell you, there are a lot of hardcore Celeste players. The speedrunning community for this game is really impressive. The developers designed this game knowing full well that with enough skill, anything can be done with blazing speed. There's even a built-in speedrun timer that you can toggle on and off. The current any % world record holder is Marlin, clocking in at 26 minutes and 23 seconds. That's mind-blowing. You're watching his footage right now. I could not recommend Celeste enough. If you play it, I hope you enjoy it. Climb that mountain with Madeline the same way both you and her are climbing through your issues. The game is difficult, but don't forget that you'll keep getting better at it, and that assist mode is there if it truly is too tough for you. There's a lot to take in from Celeste and its final act. By working with the other part of herself instead of against it, Madeline teaches us to accept ourselves and our issues. If you have a problem, you need to be self-aware of it. You need to accept it. Every aspect of your mind is a part of you, whether you like it or not. Instead of aimlessly flailing against our mental illness, we need to accept that we have a problem and make the most of things while we walk the path of recovery and health. We should work with ourselves and not trip ourselves up. There are many ways to heal, but it starts with you. Ignoring the darker part of yourself and doing nothing about it will only do harm. Even more harm if given time to fester. Do your best to identify and accept what ails you. Then take the proper steps to a better life. If you deal with depression, anxiety, or any other mental illness that makes your life difficult, I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. Please do what you need to do. Accept the help that is offered to you by others, and seek help from professionals. Find a therapist. Find a psychiatrist. Go to a doctor and discuss what's wrong. Take medication if deemed necessary, and follow the instructions correctly. Do things you enjoy or once enjoyed. Spend time with your family and friends, people you love, people who love you. Try to eat healthy and stay hydrated. Don't forget your breathing and how much it can help. Try to exercise because that can improve your mood greatly. Pursue a passion. Get a pet. Do whatever helps and whatever is healthy for yourself. Feeling better tends to take time. It's okay. You'll get there. Sometimes there's rain and thunder before there's sunshine. You have brighter days ahead. How exciting is that? Look forward to them. Until next time, I'll see you later. Stay strong out there.